Hello and welcome to Category Leaders. I am with Draven McConville, the co-founder and CEO of Clipboard. How are you, Draven?
I'm good. Great to be here today and looking forward to having the conversation.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So how about we get started? Why don't you walk me through your journey? What led you to be a leader in your space? Run us through your story.
How far back there do you want me to go? I suppose I can focus obviously on my journey with Clipboard. So I founded Clipboard, which is a SaaS field service management system. And it looks after tradespeople that work in the field. So you're scheduling, your job management, etc. I founded that about 10 years ago. Then I successfully exited the business in July of 2024 to Carriage Commercial Systems, who are a billion-dollar global ERP provider. They have now subsequently actually rebranded their entire operations to Clipboard as well, which is a great thing to see happen. But yes, long journey on the run up to the founding of Clipboard itself, having been in another tech business that I sold and exited as well, and many various jobs before that too.
Well, congratulations on the acquisition. That must be exciting. Tell me, let's go back a little bit, even before Clipboard. What kind of got you to the idea itself? How did you start your entrepreneur journey? What's kind of your origin story up until that point?
I suppose in some circles it's known that I was homeless when I was 18, started from nothing, no silver spoon, just sheer grit, determination, and a relentless attitude. Worked in various jobs in hospitality, etc., to kind of get on my feet and find my way. Eventually, find my way into sales and, in particular, digital marketing and agencies. From there, I obviously learned a lot of skills, etc. And the eagerness to always do my own thing was always there. And I suppose when you have had nothing, fear doesn't ever really come into your mindset. The only way is to go forward and keep looking forward. So I thought, why not start a business? So at 26, I founded a digital agency, but however, we were very much focused on UX, UI, product, and mobile. So it was the advent of mobile apps and the excitement around that, and people still didn't quite know what to do with mobile apps. And there was a lot of fun ones and consumer ones. But we ended up focusing in a space for business, which was called enterprise mobility, which was bringing mission critical apps to mobile devices. And we worked with some great clients across the spectrum, like Terex and Caterpillar and Kia Motors, Jaguar Land Rover, etc. But I thought to myself, it's a service-based business. It's scalable, but not as scalable as having a repeatable model. Obviously, SaaS and cloud was getting stronger. We were building a lot of projects, but you're project to project. You don't have that recurring revenue underlying. You have some, but it's hand to mouth projects, big values, big risks. But we thought, let's sell that business, move on, and take our knowledge and productize it into a single product. Obviously, field service and people working out in the field doing jobs like plumbing and HVAC and fire safety servicing. We thought to ourselves, well, we've done lots in mobile apps. Why don't we focus in that space? And also through my research, I've discovered 52% of field service businesses globally had no software. So we started with the basics and thought to ourselves, what do they use in the field that they probably want to digitize? And it was a paper form. So we thought, let's remove paper forms and allow them to do it digitally through an iPad. And what does a paper form normally get used on in the field? A clipboard. That's a clipboard with a C. My clipboard's with a K. So we branded the company and we went to market with that initial MVP, and we built and expanded the product set from there and our customer base globally.
Awesome. So essentially, how long was it around up until it was acquired?
We got acquired 18 months ago. So it was we were already in the business then for about 8 years, nearly 9 years. We raised capital, obviously investment capital to do it, obviously our own blood, sweat, and tears as well, poured into it. We had a range of angel investors and a private family office from Seattle in the US back us to do it. It took a number of years to build out the product because it's such an extensive mission critical type product before we started getting obviously our early traction with our customers. And then we weren't looking to be acquired at all. We were on our mission and we were growing and executing and performing really well. And we had a number of different approaches, and we did engage in some conversations. And this one we obviously progressed with.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the challenges that you faced from scaling your business all the way up to the acquisition. How did you overcome them?
Being a UK London-based startup, there was definitely lots of challenges over that period because obviously the country went through Brexit, which was a challenge politically, and that always affects economy and business. We then had COVID, which obviously impacted a lot of businesses and presented challenges. We then also had a change of prime minister 4 times in the UK as well, a collapse in our currency and various different things economically. So it was definitely riding a roller coaster. From that point of view, mixed with the traditional elements and challenges that a startup brings. So it's always a fine balance between managing the investment money and your burn rate versus the revenue that you're trying to bring in and get new customers to come on board and marketing versus those outside factors that I just actually mentioned. COVID in a way was actually a good thing for us because the field service industry is very traditional in its thinking. So we had a lot of education to do in the market to get them to think you should be using software, you should be getting away from these manual processes. So there's a lot of education to do in our marketing. COVID kind of put a rocket under that because they then went, we can't go into the offices and we can't use whiteboards and we need to have digital processes in place. So that accelerated things a lot for us. But it's the last big white space in the market. And the reason it's last big white space in the market is it's slow to want to change. These are traditional businesses, but it represents a huge growth opportunity. And that market is accelerating.
That's great. And looking forward now, have things changed? You know, COVID was a huge accelerant. You know, it's been a few years since then. I actually just saw since 7 years since COVID, which is crazy. Yeah. How does the market look, especially after post acquisition?
The market's probably even stronger since then because I think it's gone through that phase of knowledge and learning and field service companies understanding that they need tools like this, but also you're seeing a shift in the age demographics of who own those types of businesses because you have the boomer generation that are retiring and the older owners wanting to move on and sell those businesses. And typically they have management buyouts or younger people that come into the business that actually are wanting to change those processes, and that's accelerating things as well. So that adoption, there's also a huge shortage of skilled labor workforce. Parents have done a great job of getting their kids to go and become lawyers and bankers and teachers and all these wonderful things. But unfortunately, for a very long time, kids haven't been pushed into the direction of being a tradesperson and being a carpenter, being a joiner, being a plumber, being a field technician. So there's a shortage of skills. Therefore, there's more requirement for software because it'll enable them to do more with less resources. So it's only accelerated for sure.
Okay. You mentioned something interesting in the beginning, which I don't think is a given for companies post-acquisition, that the company that acquired Clipboard decided to keep your branding, which probably says a lot about what you guys built and the whole journey before that. So kind of take me back, you know, if you're bootstrapping or just starting out before you get to that investment, what are some of the most impactful branding investments that a founder, that a team can make starting out? And then also, you know, tell me how it impacted the acquisition itself.
Brand is a love of mine and marketing is a love of mine. You can have the best product in the world, but if no one knows about it or doesn't want to buy into it because of what they visually see, then it's not going to work. So we focused on brand from a very early on perspective. Single word, a phonetic word that most people could get, and a word that related to the industry that we were actually serving, and also a hook. So if we were ringing up companies to say, hey, it's Draven from Clipboard, and that's Clipboard with a K. And it kind of was a breaking down the barrier to try and get through the doors to win that business. But the one thing that we always done from the beginning was to brand ourselves to look way bigger than we actually were. So we looked like a larger business and not that scrappy startup. So we presented ourselves in that larger enterprise light. Then we actually
where were you presenting yourself in that light?
Where was I presenting ourselves?
Yeah, like what were some of the main channels? Like what were you actually doing to make that perception, to make people see you guys?
There's the look and feel of Fire brand actually as well. So it's not a tactile thing, however, it's an emotional thing. So when you present a brand, and people will visually look at it and have a perception of that brand straight away. So to us, how our brand was represented online and across different mediums, whether that be business platforms like LinkedIn or the social media platforms, etc., it needed to be extendable, but it needed to represent very quickly an emotive reaction to what that was and a related reaction. So that's what we really done. And in fact, we had a rebrand just a couple of years before the acquisition where we updated our identity, same name, etc., but stepped it forward into that next evolution, really. And now obviously that has been adopted by the larger group that has actually acquired us. And as you said, rare. It's not normally that way around. Normally the smaller company that's been acquired by the bigger company assumes their brand. But it's great to go and see that work that we created go on to a global stage.
That's awesome. You mentioned the next evolution. So looking ahead, what are some of the key areas you're focusing on at Clipboard?
I think the biggest key area is AI. I know that probably people are bored hearing about it, and it's now somewhat a bit of a buzzword, etc. Obviously, agentic AI is a huge opportunity for businesses, whether they're a technology business or non-software business. So our focus is looking at that, how that can be harnessed and utilized within obviously our existing product suite, but also how is it harnessed and utilized within our own operations as a business as well to give us optimizations and efficiency gains, etc. as well. I think that's definitely a huge driver is AI. I think also understanding how the workplace is going to shift within field services. As I mentioned earlier, there's a younger workforce coming in. Their desire of what their expectations are from software and the tools that they work, how they work out in the field. Obviously, we've got augmented reality, we've got IoT devices, we've got heads-up glasses, etc. So bringing information to the technician there and then, using AI to dissect that information. So if they're working on a piece of equipment that they've never serviced before, that we can bring up manuals, guidance, answer their questions there and then. So assisting those technicians in the field to do much better. So a whole mix of that industry 4.0, as most people would know it as.
Great. Well, I appreciate everything and all the insights in your time here, Draven. Finally, how can our audience learn more about you and stay updated with Clipboard?
I'm all over the internet.
Where are you most on the internet?
I am most on LinkedIn. So always feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there. I've got an unusual name. You'll find me very quickly. So Draven McConville. I've obviously got my website, dravenmcconville.com, which gives a broader insight into myself and what I've done. And obviously my business is clipboard.io. And as I said earlier, that's Clipboard with a K. So I'm across all of those three mediums. and always happy to connect with fellow entrepreneurs, startup founders, etc., and chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Draven.
Thank you.